This is Brian Carlton for ABN Newswire. I'm back at the Boulders Club of New South Wales for the May Symposium Resources Roadshow, where listed and unlisted companies and those who want to get up close and personal with potential investors in a relaxed kind of informal environment. Granite Power Limited intends seeking a listing on the ASX as soon as possible. Its vision and business is focused on low to medium temperature, low cost, green energy via a very clever piece of new technology known as GRANEX. Now, GRANEX is capable of increasing electricity generation outputs from normally marginal heat sources by around 40% over currently available technology, which is stunning. It can be used directly for geothermal generation, scaled up or down to capture industrial waste heat and convert it directly to electricity at those much higher efficiencies. Granite Power's Managing Director is Stephen Belle, who presented tonight. He joins me now. Stephen, welcome to ABN Newswire.
Thank you.
Let's talk technology first. I understand it was developed at the Uni of Newcastle.
That's correct. Yes, we've got a team up there.
Okay, why is it so superior to current recovered waste heat generators?
Because it uses basically the same technology but configured slightly differently and with some smarts added, and we're getting 40% more net power at the terminals, which is a massive increase.
Which is incredible, isn't it?
It's
really?
Incredible.
What's the secret ingredient?
We're not telling you that.
So it's going to stay a secret,
It's going to stay a secret.
Okay.
And there's a number of elements and they have to be combined the right way.
All right, now the system is so clever, it even reuses the heat it generates.
Yes, that's correct.
How does it do that?
Well,
or does that involve the secret ingredient?
Part of the secret ingredient, but there's a heat regenerator involved, that's correct.
So geothermal generation is a bit of a no-brainer. That's obviously going to be a massive industry moving forward. What role will the company actually take in geothermal projects?
We're hoping we are taking two roles. One is we have a number of sites where we have good geothermal resources close to market, outside Melbourne and outside the city of Gladstone. They're ready for development. And we also have this technology which will enhance the economic attractiveness of developing those resources.
So you see the use of GRANEX as actually boosting the capacity of geothermal to happen, be developed over... What sort of time frame are you talking?
I think the rollout for GRANEX in the geothermal space will be over the next 5 or 6 years, largely dependent upon the extent of support we get from the federal government.
And is that forthcoming?
At the moment, not as much as we'd like. Frankly, it's a big capital challenge, and we'd like a bit more money and a bit more support from the federal government. They provide some support, but in our view, not quite enough.
So that headline 40% net increase in efficiency is not enough to get the checkbook out?
Well, they're putting some money in, but I think to be fair to them, they don't quite appreciate the significance of it.
That wouldn't surprise me at all.
We're working on that. We're lobbying.
Well, that's okay. Now, now GRANEX can be retrofitted, yes, if I understand this correctly, yes, into industrial waste heat applications, right, for all sorts of industry.
All sorts of things.
What are you looking at there?
Well, the low-hanging fruit that we're starting with is gensets. These are typically diesel motors or gas-fired motors mounted on a concrete slab used to power remote mine sites or remote townships. What we're talking about is capturing the exhaust pipe gases, so we don't interfere with the primary machine, capturing those gases, using the heat in those gases to generate more power with no additional fuel used and only a modest increase in a modest cost of generating that power. We're talking about 6 cents a kilowatt hour.
Wow.
Most remote mine sites are paying 12, 15, 20 cents per kilowatt hour.
And the benefits for industrial companies using GRANEX are obvious: less reliance on the grid, excess capacity, I guess, can be sold back to the grid.
That's right, excess capacity can be sold back to the grid, and it helps them avoid the future cost, the almost certain future cost of increases in fuel prices.
One of the problems with some of the new technologies coming on board, things like solar thermal, yeah, is the capital cost versus the electricity generated from it. Yes, that equation's a little bit out of balance. You can use it for that as well?
Yes, we can use it for solar thermal. In fact, we submitted our first formal proposal for a solar thermal project last week, and we're having active discussions with that party.
Because I'd imagine that as an industry they would be massively interested in the technology.
They are interested. It's quite transformative for the economics of their industry. I mean, there's a number of components to solar thermal. We're just talking about the power conversion component, but it has a huge impact in their overall economics.
What other sorts of renewables might the GRANEX be useful for?
Biogas You create a biological mass and then break it down to create gas and then use the gas to create power. It's also useful for geothermal. That was where we targeted originally, both conventional geothermal and engineered geothermal opportunities.
Let's scale up a bit. Is there a capacity to use GRANEX on existing, say, coal-fired power
yes,
stations? Yes,
we've been asked for a proposal by one of the largest power stations on the East Coast for using GRANEX to capture the heat in their flue gas and use that to generate additional electricity. And we'll submit a draft proposal to that power station at the end of May.
Do the efficiencies stay roughly the same as you scale up or not?
They improve slightly with scale, but not massively. The efficiency is most sensitive to temperature and to the facility with which one can capture the waste heat. Some waste heat is easier to capture than others.
Okay. So you're doing some fairly vigorous testing here. What's the largest power plant you've tested so far? What sort of megawattage are we talking about, well, if you've got that big?
No, we haven't really tested in that sense. We've got a 1 kilowatt proof of concept plant, which we completed in late 2008. And to give you a sense of scale, that's about enough power to run a household. Then we've got a 100 kilowatt plant, which we commissioned at the end of last year, and which reproduced the performance of the first plant, thereby giving us the scale rules and confidence in the cost estimates and performance estimates. And we're now talking about plants of the range of 1 megawatt to about 5 megawatts. So we're working our way up without being too ambitious. We're taking it in modest steps.
Am I being outrageous here if I were to think that some of the waste heat generated by the average household, is that something way down the track that you'd be looking at, some sort of domestic application?
That's way down the track once we've had quite a number of cycles of reviewing our technology and polishing it and making it cheaper. I think that's some way down the track.
And would I be right in guessing that the waste water from the process is potable?
It can be made potable. We have some related technology developed by the University of Newcastle people again, where we can potentially take the brine, which is the circulating fluid in a geothermal operation, and take some of that brine and turn it into potable water.
So that would give us,
it's a desal plant. It's economic for certain situations, not all situations. But it's a very interesting spin-off from what we're doing as our main focus.
What's the key point? What's the driver for your presentation tonight? What were you trying to most get across to potential investors in GRANEX?
What I was trying to get across was really two things. One, the market for application of GRANEX to industrial recovered waste heat is huge. It's humongously big. It's a vast market worldwide, and it's ready for the picking. And secondly, we're in the market now selling product. We've got our prototype plant and our proof of concept plant. We're ready to go. We're in the market. We've got our first sale, verbal commitment, not a contract yet. So we're underway. And what we need is working capital to really get some momentum.
And there is global potential, isn't there?
Oh, huge potential. We're talking about potentially billions of dollars of export income for Australia.
The actual GRANEX plant, is it expensive to put in?
We're talking...
will it be as you get economies of scale?
Well, once we get rolling, no. We're talking about $2.5 million per megawatt with no operating costs. That's the important point. The operating costs are virtually zero. So that's very capital competitive, and it's even more competitive when you consider the absence of operating costs.
It would be desperately sad to see such a brilliant technology lost to Australia. Agreed?
I agree with that wholeheartedly.
Because we don't have a great history at capitalising.
Particularly since the taxpayers helped pay for much of the R&D. They paid 50%, bit under 50% of the R&D. So
but the potential payoffs for taxpayers
are huge, huge.
When do you plan to list?
As soon as the market conditions permit. I'm hoping that we can formalise the contract that we have, or the sale we've agreed, and another one or two, and then do that and position ourselves for a listing before Christmas this year.
Stephen Belle, Managing Director, Granite Power Limited. It's a fabulous story. I'll follow it closely. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
This is Brian Carlton for ABN Newswire.